Welcome back, America. Peter Schweizer, who deserves a Pulitzer Prize and any other prize they can figure out, of the Government Accountability Institute. He wrote a book in 2018, and he broke the story right here on this program called Secret Empires. And one of the primary focuses of your book, Peter, was the Biden crime family. And you suggested in there that we're talking about over $30 million that this crime family has received for doing absolutely nothing, primarily from communist China. Now you see all this going on. What's your take?
Yeah, I mean, it's sort of enormously rewarding, but we always work very hard, Mark, on the research. We use public records, financial records, court documents, et cetera. And what we're seeing now, 5 years later, come to fruition is exactly what we talked about 5 years ago. It shouldn't have taken this long. The fact of the matter is the mainstream media took no interest in this story. I had lunch with a New York Times reporter in New York in the fall of 2018 talking about the Bidens in China, and he told me, well, if Joe Biden runs for president, we are absolutely going to cover this story, which, of course, they never did. So it's really because of media obstruction and the fact that in Washington, D.C., there are a lot of people, Democrats and some Republicans, that don't want to have a conversation about this, that we've now had to wait for this 5 years. But I give a lot of credit to Chairman Comer, Jim Jordan, the other committee chairman, because they are turning over rocks that only they can turn over because they have subpoena power. So God bless them. And these whistleblowers are doing a fantastic service to their country.
And none of this would be possible in the House but for a 5-vote majority and the Speaker of the House, Kevin McCarthy, who's told these guys, you do whatever you have to do to get to the bottom of this. And compare McCarthy, if you will, to Mitch McConnell. Have we even heard from Mitch McConnell? Have we heard from any of the Republican leadership in the Senate, whether it's Cornyn or Barrasso or Thune or anybody? You have the greatest corruption exposed in the history of this country, and a president of the United States who's corrupt up to his eyeballs, the Manchurian president, and they say nothing. I've heard nothing. Have you heard anything?
No. The only people in the Senate that have talked about this have been Senator Ron Johnson and Senator Grassley. In terms of Mitch McConnell, no. And as we've talked about on this program before, Mitch McConnell does not want to have an open conversation about Chinese financial ties involving American political families because his family is one of those. So he doesn't want to have this conversation. And I would argue that some of the other people that aren't talking about it, they may not have Chinese ties now, but they aspire to have some kind of financial ties with foreign entities. They see politics and public service as a money-making opportunity, and they believe that foreign oligarchs present that opportunity. So why muddy the waters? Why draw attention to this? Let's just keep focusing on the less important issues. But this is a critical turning point, Mark. I'm very encouraged. If you look at the public opinion polls, opinions are shifting on this and what the Bidens are doing. And I think this is going to be the end of Joe Biden's political career.
So, Peter Schweizer, you write this book in 2018. We have a new attorney general who's sworn in early 2019. His name would be Bill Barr. Did Bill Barr ever contact you or send out one of his people to interview you about your really incredible charges about the Biden family in your book?
Well, Mark, we did have contact. The FBI contacted us, people from the public corruption section. And by the way, these are very, very good FBI agents. But as was now becoming clear, that investigation was stifled at senior levels. So there was interest by FBI in looking into these allegations, but it was stifled. And we need to remember, Mark, look, we've had these courageous IRS whistleblowers that talk about how they were stifled. They were muzzled. They were prevented from looking into the tax evasion charges. We've got to assume the same thing happened on every other aspect of investigating the Bidens, whether it's FARA violations, public corruption. Yeah.
If we assume that happened, the Department of Justice was run by Republicans. Christopher Wray's been director of the FBI since 2017. Bill Barr was Attorney General since early 2019. So what the hell happened?
It was halted. It was stopped.
That's the problem.
Yeah.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.